Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive. You know we love to tackle those big career questions, and today, well, we're diving into something I'm pretty sure you've thought about.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a question I get asked a lot.
It might be, something you just daydream about, or maybe it's like this huge goal you're actively working towards, landing a job at, that company, your dream company.
The one with the nap pods and the kombucha on tap.
Exactly. Now, some of you might be out there right now scrolling through job boards every day, or maybe you're pretty happy where you are, but you're, open to the perfect opportunity if it pops up. But what we found is that it's really being proactive, like really taking charge. That makes all the difference in actually making that dream a reality.
Couldn't agree more. Just kind of passively waiting for something to fall in your lap. It rarely works out that way.
Totally. So our goal with this deep dive is, well, it's really to give you those concrete steps, the tools to not only actually find those companies that really excite you, but then, and this is key, to up your chances of actually getting hired by them. And the stuff we've been looking at, a lot of it is focused on, those practical strategies to find and engage with these ideal employers. So no more just applying to anything and everything.
Right. Like how to stand out from the crowd in a meaningful way.
Exactly. Okay, so let's break this down. You listening right now, the first hurdle for some of you might actually be picturing that dream company in the first place.
Yeah, dream company can feel kind of fluffy sometimes.
Right? Like, what does that even mean? One of the key things we noticed in what we read is that, while job platforms are great for, showing you what jobs are out there, they're usually organized by job type, right? Not really focused on helping you find an employer that's actually the right fit.
Yeah, they're not really matching you to a company culture or anything.
Totally. So for those of you out there thinking, dream company, I just need a job that pays the bills right now, where do you even begin?
Well, that's a real starting point for a lot of people. And it makes total sense. But the shift we want to encourage is moving beyond just any open role to actually thinking about companies where, honestly, where your core values and what you're interested in, where those really align.
Okay, so less about I need a job and more about I want to work here.
Yeah, exactly. Think about what actually matters to you in a workplace. Is it, a company that's constantly innovating? Is it a place with a super collaborative vibe? Maybe you're driven by wanting to make a social impact. It could be anything. But once you've got a clearer picture of what drives you, then you can start to build a target list of companies that actually match that.
So how do you actually go about building this target list? It's not like LinkedIn has a filter for companies you'll absolutely love working for.
Yeah, no, they don't. This takes some real research on your end. One of the articles really emphasized diving deep into a company's stated core values. Like what's their vision for the future? What's their day-to-day company culture actually like? And this is all stuff you can usually find right on their website, often in those About Us or Careers sections.
That makes sense.
And really pay attention to their mission statement. Do those words actually resonate with you? What kind of impact are they trying to make on the world? How do they talk about their employees? Those are the big questions to ask yourself.
Okay, so let's say I'm drawing a total blank. Where do I even start looking for these kinds of companies?
One of the articles had a really great suggestion, which is look at lists of highly ranked employers. So publications like the Fortune 100 Best Companies to Work For, those can be a goldmine of inspiration. And even if you don't end up going for a company on that specific list, just looking through it can expose you to, different types of organizations, see their values, see the perks they offer, and that can help you get a better sense of what you're really looking for in an employer.
Okay, I like that. So you've done your homework, you've got this list of companies that you're actually excited about. What's next? How do you go from admiring them from afar to actually getting on their radar?
This is where taking those proactive steps becomes super important. And one of the pieces we looked at, they made a really interesting point about the advantage of, pursuing these dream companies while you're still employed, if that's your situation.
Yeah, it makes sense if you think about it.
It takes some of that pressure off, that immediate financial pressure to just take any job offer that comes along.
Right, because then you can be more, I don't know, more picky, I guess.
Yeah, more strategic, more selective.
So what are some concrete things you can do to make these dream employers aware of you? Like how awesome you'd be working there?
The research, it doesn't stop once you've figured out your list of companies. It actually becomes even more crucial.
More research. I thought we were done with that part.
Well, yeah, you did the initial research to find the companies, but now it's about going deeper. The more you know about a specific company, and their latest projects, what challenges they're up against, their successes, the better you'll be able to tailor your interactions with them. And this isn't just about nailing a formal interview, it's about making those connections even before you apply,
Oh, I see.
like you're laying the groundwork.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, think about those typical interview questions. What interests you about our company?
hmm
What do you know about us? If you've actually done your research, those questions become a chance for you to really impress them.
Exactly. And this research, it informs so much more than just your interview answers.
Yeah.
It shapes how you engage with them online, how you approach networking events, even how you write your cover letter.
So it's like having this whole strategy in place.
Yeah. And speaking of online presence, that's another huge thing that came up a lot in our sources.
Oh, yeah, the whole clean up your social media advice, it seems so basic, but you'd be surprised how many people forget about it. What should we be thinking about here?
Think of it this way. Put yourself in the shoes of the hiring manager at your dream company. They're probably going to do a quick Google search of your name. What are they going to find? What we read emphasize the importance of making sure that everything that's publicly visible on your social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of it, it needs to show you as a professional, someone they'd want to work with.
So, no embarrassing party pics.
Well, let's just say anything questionable, you're better off either deleting it or adjusting your privacy settings so it's not public anymore.
Makes sense. One of the articles even went as far as saying you should consider creating a whole separate professional social media account. Why would you do that?
That can be a really smart way to keep your personal stuff separate from your professional networking. That way you can still have a personal life online without worrying about what a potential employer might see. But even if you don't go that far, the key takeaway is anything you post publicly, anyone can see it, including the recruiters at your dream companies.
It's a good point. Okay, so your online presence is all cleaned up. What's the next level of engagement?
This is where social media can be a really powerful tool. A lot of the experts we looked at recommended follow your target companies on all the different platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Even places like Pinterest or Quora could be relevant depending on the industry.
What's the benefit of just hitting that follow button?
Well, it lets you stay in the loop. You'll see their company milestones, any big announcements, how they're making an impact in their field. It gives you those real-time insights, which makes it so much easier to start conversations with their employees or recruiters. You've got stuff to talk about. Plus, and this was a cool point that came up, you might even discover you already know someone who works there. And that can open doors to a referral, which is huge.
Yeah, that's like a secret weapon almost.
Okay, so you're following them, you're in the know. What about the more formal stuff, like actually applying for a job you see posted?
That's where knowing their recruiting platforms becomes really important. If you're looking at bigger companies, especially those Fortune 100 companies, they often post their jobs on multiple platforms: LinkedIn, the big job boards, sometimes even through major news outlets. Make sure you're signed up for job alerts on all those platforms so you don't miss anything.
And timing seems to be super crucial too, right? We saw a lot about that. Oh, absolutely. A lot of big companies, even smaller ones that are growing fast, they have these recurring recruiting seasons throughout the year. And with a bit of research, you can usually get a sense of when those peak hiring periods are for the companies you're interested in. And the advice to apply immediately when you see a job you like, that cannot be overstated.
Why is that?
Because a lot of companies now use what's called rolling hiring. So they start reviewing applications and doing those initial interviews. As soon as they get them, they don't wait for a deadline.
So no procrastinating on those applications.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to jump on it when that perfect role opens up.
Okay, so what about the more traditional ways of connecting, like going to in-person events? Are those still important?
100%. Job fairs, industry conferences, networking events, they're all amazing opportunities to actually meet recruiters and hiring managers face to face. And one of the things we read was that a real in-person interaction can make a much bigger impact than just an online exchange. So if you know your target companies are going to be at these events, make sure you have an updated resume and even a portfolio of your work ready to go.
It's all about making a good impression, even if there isn't a perfect job opening right at that second. Which brings us to the idea of reaching out even when you don't see an open role that's a perfect fit. That might feel kind of intimidating. Where do you even start with that?
It's really about showing you're proactive and genuinely interested in that company. One of the strategies we saw suggested reaching out with a thoughtful question about their recent work, or even asking about temporary or project-based positions just to get your foot in the door. The goal isn't necessarily to get your dream job right then and there. It's more about getting on their radar for when something does open up.
So it's like planting a seed.
Exactly. You're making a good impression just by showing that you're interested and motivated to work there. And even if there's not a full-time role available right then, they'll be much more likely to remember you when something does open up.
This has been so insightful. So just to recap, it's all about being proactive, being informed about the companies you're interested in, and making connections. We talked about identifying those dream companies, doing your research on their values and culture, making sure your online presence is on point, engaging with them on social media, knowing where they post jobs and when they hire, going to networking events, and even reaching out before there's an official opening.
It's a lot, but each step really helps to increase your visibility and show those companies that you'd be a great fit.
So as we wrap up, here's something to really think about. In a world where everyone's focused on resumes and online profiles, what's one small but impactful thing you can do today that'll really set you apart and get you closer to working at a company that excites you?
Yeah, good question.
It could be picking one company to really research, updating your LinkedIn, maybe even just finding one company to start following on Twitter. Start small, stay proactive, and you might just land that dream job sooner than you think.
That's what we like to hear.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
See you next time.